is Jonathan Moore with Hometown Historian Channel. I wanted to introduce this new series, which is a companion series to the Going About Town series. A bunch of these different little towns, maybe not have enough there. Like, there's history with all these, and depending on what history books I'm able to get, like I was going to mention Fredericksburg, really cool town, a lot of history, but there's also a lot of that history has been torn down and is gone, especially some of the more, say, significant pieces of history. Like, my one friend was wondering why in Fredericksburg the one chicken factory is called College Hill. The reason it's called College Hill is there was a Schuylkill seminary that was built on a hill that was paid for by John Lick. So that's gone. It got torn down. A lot of other history as well has been demolished and is gone. And it's another sort of, I would say, almost like a companion piece to the Pennsylvania historic markers, that they make these smaller markers that, I had said in the vlog, like, for instance, Annville, Myerstown, which is much further east, Palmyra, which is going to be the first one we're going to do in this video, Hershey, all those, like, the main road that runs through them is Route 422, and it's an east-west. So on the east side and then on the west side, you'll have these blue signs, which are much smaller than the historic markers. I'm not really sure if the Historic Markers Commission puts them up or if it's a town thing. I really, honestly, I'll have to do more research on that. I should have done that before this, but sorry. But then you'll have some towns where it's more of a north-south main run. You'll have one on the north side, one on the south side. It basically will give the name, give the founding date, maybe talk about the founder, and then maybe give, like, for instance, in Palmyra, it was originally called Palmstown, after the founder, Johann Palm. So you'll have that information on there. And then sometimes, like Fredericksburg, for instance, there's a really unique story there with the founder. Townspeople really weren't that fond of him because he had a pretty bad reputation. So at one point they're like, the heck with this, and they changed it from Stumpstown, his last name was Stump, to Fredericksburg, which still gave a nod to him, because I think his name was Frederick Stump, something along that line. And then you'll have in a number of these towns, like Jonestown, they were originally called Williamstown, and then they had to change the name because they were having confusion. Now, I think they were having confusion not with another Pennsylvania town, but it was Williamstown, Virginia. And then you'll have ones like, which they don't have these signs there in Ono, but that was originally called Mount Nebo, but with the post office as it expanded, it was like there's another town in Pennsylvania called Mount Nebo, and Mount Nebo of Ono was like, okay, we'll switch our name. But there's a cool story with it, and we'll maybe stop by some kind of historic places there in town. With Palmyra, we're going to, the next stop after the actual town sign, we'll go to the Johann Palm Memorial, and then we'll also, because we're fortunate in this regard, we actually have a Bean Eagles Lutheran, which is just like 3 miles north of Palmyra, which we went to Bean Eagles and saw that Johann Palm's burials there. A lot of times founders sometimes moved somewhere else. Sometimes they were buried in a family plot, which there's no stones left and there's no record of where they are. Sometimes they moved away. I think there's one of those founders is buried in, like, New Jersey, so obviously we can't go there. But it is something we talk about. It'll be, most of these videos, this will be a little longer because of this introduction, because I like to yip yap, but also recognizing what this series is. It's purely a companion piece to the Going About Town series, because I'll do stuff on Palmyra, and some of the towns are going to have very different, like, I'll do a walkabout. Some of these different towns have these walkabout series that the Lebanon Valley Conservation District, I believe, they put all that together, so there you knew what these different houses that are still standing were, what businesses were housed, the people that are there, their significance, that type of stuff. Not a ton of information on these, but it's still something cool to be able to check out. And then we'll do that at some point as well. But we talked about the theater series in Lebanon, starting there. That is be basically, in essence, a companion piece. A lot of these different series are surrounding around it, even like the historic hometown churches. It's in essence a companion piece to the Going About Town series. because it has to do with these towns, but they're their own series, if you will. But this one is it is a companion piece. It's going to be called Hometown Foundations, having to do with the founding of the towns and what the town's name, what they meant, those types of things. So that's what this is. And I'm going to wait a little bit because it's about 38 degrees right now here in the morning, and it feels like 31. It doesn't really seem like there's wind out there, but apparently there is a little bit. So I'm going to wait till it gets a little bit warmer, and then I'm going to run over, get that sign, do the Johann Palm Memorial, and then get that. And like I said, these different videos will be different because not all of them have those types of things, but we'll go visit some other things. But most of them will be like 4 to 5 minutes long. So pretty short videos, but I think it's another cool aspect that we can add to the channel. So thanks everybody, and we'll see you all about town.
The town of Palmyra was founded in 1749 by Johann Palm, or sometimes referred to as Johann Palm. Johann, or Johannes, you'll see the German version of John from English. And it was called Palmstown originally. It was actually referred to as Palmstown until about 1810. And they really don't give any reason why, but eventually the residents changed the name to Palmyra. It may be in relation to the biblical town name of Palmyra that was right there near Israel. I believe might have been a Greek town, but it was right there on the northern end of the Mediterranean. But that is Palmyra, and we will be going next to the Johann or John Palm Memorial next to the Palmyra Municipal Building. Thanks, everybody. So this is the Johann Palm Memorial. It's also a memorial, little memorial park there next to the municipal building that's dedicated to the soldiers and other like firemen, policemen, all the people that have served this community. There's also on the back side of this, which you'll see it later in pictures, some Instagram pictures I had posted of this same memorial, and then of the war memorial. It's like a obelisk, and that has a really cool saying on it as well. But we're going to deal with Dr. Johann Palm, or Dr. John Palm. He was born in 1713 in Württemberg, Germany. He eventually moved, immigrated to, at that time it was the colonies, and settled in New Jersey in 1750. In 1764, he actually joined the Beenagle colony, which is north of what would be called Palmstown, or eventually Palmyra. In 1766, he bought 100 acres in what is now called Palmyra, and he founded Palmstown. It actually had been previously settled around 1749, because on the sign previously, the blue marker sign, it says it's founded 1749. Technically, it wasn't founded and called Palmstown until 1766. He wound out serving in the Revolutionary War. He felt he was too old because by then he was in his mid-60s, so he didn't feel he could be a soldier, but he was a doctor, so he decided to offer his services as a surgeon to the Revolutionary War Army, and he wound out serving in the Battle of Brandywine. And he wound out shortly thereafter in 1777. He gave his oath of allegiance to the colonial government, the colonies and all that, the American Revolution. For the rest of his days, he used to love telling a story at the Battle of Brandywine that George Washington would ride his horse back and forth up and down these lines, putting himself at great risk, but trying to put out an aura of calm and command. And he always loved to tell that story till eventually his death in 1799. And he is actually buried 3 miles north of Palmyra in the Beenagles Lutheran Church Cemetery, which is where we're going next. We'll see you there. So this is a short history of Palmyra, and it's part of this new series, the Hometown Foundations. Thanks, everybody. So we are here at our last stop. This is the grave site, the memorial
is dedicated to founder of Palmyra, Dr. Johann Palm, July 25th, 1713 to April 25th, 1799, and his wives, Christiana, Dorothy, she died 1747, Catherine Salam died 1764, and I believe those two women, they actually died, I know the earliest wife, she died while they were still in New Jersey. One of them, it might have been Catherine. It's either Catherine or Elizabeth had actually been a captive of the Native Americans. Second wife had died 1764, and his last wife, Elizabeth Klein Williams, she died in 1815. I believe she was quite a bit younger than him, and this memorial was dedicated in 1976. And as we've been here before, this is Beanoggle's Lutheran Church here, about 3 miles north, maybe 4 miles north of Palmyra. But this is the grave site of Dr. Johann Palm, who was the founder of Palmyra, at the time called Palmstown. All right, everybody, well, we're going to walk back to Chuck, and we'll go from there. It's a bit of a windy day, a little bit of rain on and off. This is actually the first part of the video that I filmed because it was raining when I went by the Palm Memorial there in Palmyra. So I got to do that, and I got to do the very first part other than the introduction at the actual blue signs for the towns. As always, thanks guys for coming along. I appreciate you all, and we will see you all about town.